hope to see when I get Cuz in the games is something where you can start fights. Because that's kind of what it's been doing so far. The Zac game yesterday was spot on. The Camille today, some issues in the early game, but I think he got his revenge later on in the game. He was the one forcing a lot of fights in that mid lane.
And with Kai'Sa and predictably Ezreal probably going to join Kai'Sa on the ban list, I actually want to see something out of Khan or BDD. And the reason why I named Khan in particular is that when he was seen as the slayer of top laners, that was when Cuz was in the team and was largely targeting top side. He's been much more team focused, a lot more gangplank, a lot more standard in 2018. Whereas with Cuz, that's when his name really put fear into the minds of a lot of other opponents.
Well, Jace getting banned here. We have to remember the last time these two teams played each other, Hanabi grabbed the Yasuo top lane against the Gnar and carried the game.
Yes.
I think he's ready for Khan to want his revenge, and he just very early on in the draft removed that Jace.
Vladimir off the table as well, and even though we consider Khan a top lane carry player, or at least can do that, it's been more on the fighters than the mages. Generally speaking, of course, BDD a great mid laner as well, but that Vladimir I do believe was not a bit of a bad look for Khan when he played it earlier this tournament. Regardless, one more ban to come through for Kingzone. Rakan off the table, but Varus, Betty's most favorite champion, as my words escape me, still on the table.
So Trundle is normally what we look at as a first pick, and I think you can go for that against Cuz specifically, because I'm not expecting the Graves to come in, but they do actually grab the Camille instead, and they want to make sure that Khan does not get his hands on it.
And it also gives him something on the blue side to be a flex pick, because Cuz was playing that jungle Camille last time out, and I think Foskurin was really onto something when she's talking about blue and red side. Kingzone themselves 4-0 on red side, all their losses on blue side, given that Flash Wolves have traditionally wanted to counter-pick support and also engineer a good matchup for Hanabi to get through lane. Doing both those things is impossible unless flex picks like Camille are thrown in.
Also look at the AD carry bans with Kai'Sa and Ezreal, and then you grab the Kog'Maw. That means actually most of the rage played on mid-game AD carries that can spike on like 1 to 2 items have been banned away, or at least the ones they consider top tier, because Varus is not really getting picked anymore, even though he was in the start of the tournament and actually was very successful for Betty.
Exactly.
They used to win all their games when they played Varus or Ezreal in the bot lane, and then last picked, counter-picked for Sword Art to have these winning, pushing bot lanes. I want to see Flash Wolves go back to that if they want to try and destroy this Kog'Maw here.
They are at least going back to some success, though. Maple's Talia was bonkers when he played it earlier this tournament. Going to grab that one, as well as Mugen on an aggressive jungler. We know that this Camille is definitely going top now, or, I mean, I guess flex to support.
Often when Kingzone have shown Kog'Maw priority in the LCK, they've paired it with a mid lane Sion. They love that duo, because you can get the one item on the Kog'Maw of the Rage Blade and fight with Sion's power and go banner. There's also combat options. You can go very aggressive into a Talia. The Yasuo, a famous matchup. We haven't seen it from BDD, but played a lot in Korean solo queue. Well, I want to mention that Flash Wolves have done something in the first round by first picking Camille, then taking the Graves. They're basically saying, we want a combat advantage over your jungler. We want you to take a tank jungler into the Graves that we've seen 3, 4, 5 camping advantage over their enemies. They do get that here as Cuz defaults to the Zac.
But that Zac can still be huge when it comes to perma-ganking lanes and then later on in the game forcing team fights. I want to see if they go for another top lane ban as well. If the Fiora is something they look towards.
True.
Always a massive matchup against the Camille.
And Khan, a famous Fiora in his own right. You have to hope it's going to be a carry versus carry matchup there. We've seen very interesting home-cooked ideas into Camille. So Afrika Freaks break out the Malphite into the Camille back in the playoffs. And we do see the Varus ban you were calling for, Deficio.
And good to sneak that one in. That was going to be a very likely pick out of Betty here. This means 1, 2, 3 marksman bans so far, at least for conventional bot laners. No Zoe allowed as a counter pick in Talia, and it's time for the final round of picks now.
They know their lane matchups. They know it's top lane Camille, and they know that it is, of course, the Talia in the mid lane. Seeing what the choice here mentioned already, they love the Sion with the Kog'Maw. Usually only go one threat in this comp. If the Sion is locked in, a flex pick, which should be mentioned.
Exactly, yeah, still flex pick in case they see some shenanigans from Flash Wolves' side. Now, what do they grab for Betty down in that bot lane? Because
that's Rage Blade champion.
I mean,
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Uzi showed us at Worlds. Uzi showed us at Worlds, and he was really good at it. Still seems unlikely, but in Betty and the rest of Flash Wolves battling up against what everyone thinks the best team in the world, he's going to go for Ashe here.
And this is now the first time he gets to play this doing MSI, because otherwise it's been, you know, the Ezreal, the Varus, the Kog'Maw. These are kind of the picks he's been going for so far. It is now a crit AD carry on his side, but it is an AD carry that's very strong early on in the laning phase, and it could still be try and win bot lane.
The identity of the LMS squad is very clear. They have Hawkshot, they have an invading jungler. They've denied and forced Kaz to a tank. I mentioned the Yasuo. They do it.
Okay.
They're going mid lane Yasuo here, you would have to think. But if you look at Flash Wolves, they're all about invading and tracking. They have so many different ways to shut down Kaz in the jungle.
And they're so mobile, maybe they can just move away from the Yasuo. You can snowball the other lanes, and then you don't care about BDD, because we know he needs a bunch of items before he really becomes the big carry.
But this is a test, guys, because I remember an international event where BDD picked for his own lane, picked the Syndra into the Malzahar, and was one of the main reasons that Longzhu lost game 1 and eventually the series against Samsung. Yasuo plays into the lane. This requires aggression. This isn't Galio for playmaking. These plays are highlight reel worthy.
This is very, very exciting. A couple of knockups to the squad. The Zac and Cyan can set up for him. BDD bringing in the biggest new champion, I gotta say, for this tournament. Yasuo has been a up-and-comer so far. Has had some bad performances, but some really great ones as well. The battle for first place will involve the Yasuo in the mid lane. It's gonna be an exciting one to watch for. Prey and Gorilla also frequently considered the best bottom lane in the world. Haven't looked quite to that degree in this tournament, but what a time to show up is right now on Kog'Maw, one of the most sought-after champions in the game.
And a time catch for Gorilla, where the job is most likely just to stay alive for as long as possible, because we know with this pushing bot lane, Ashe and Janna on the side of Flash Wolves, then combine that with the strong early jungler and a roaming mid. There's a lot of players that can suddenly show up in that bot lane and try and make something happen.
And a lot of players can show up and kill Zac at a camp. Both these comps actually have a lot of internal consistency. They know what they want to do. And it's going to be all about the setup to see who gets there first.
And we are on to Summoner's Rift now for what's not going to be one of the last games. We are guaranteed tiebreakers, 1 or 2 based on how it goes, but a battle for first is in front of us. The winner either has it alone or shares it with Royal Never Give Up based on their results right after this one. But Flash Wolves have been a pleasant surprise so far at MSI 2018. Hoping to take down Kingzone here.
Yeah, I think the first few days we all became Flash Wolves fans. Sadly, however, for Flash Wolves, they've lost 3 games in a row. So they are still in the running for that first place, but it will be quite a turnaround compared to the last 3 games where they've not been able to get the same early advantages, or if they did, they were not able to then execute around a Baron.
And I think if you talk to 5 analysts, you get 5 slightly different reasons as to why Flash Wolves have kind of fallen away from their 6-0 start. To me, they were the first squad at this tournament to have a good idea of what they wanted to do, as Khan is trying to put up a bit of a defense on the top side here off the secondary invade. They understood the meta, they loved the double range bot lanes, and they got a lot of leads through that.
And this is important because this is what we see when Graves gets picked against things like Zac, is you invade in early, level 1 to get wards around the buffs, to make sure you know where Zac is starting. And look, even Gorilla is up here, defending with Kingzone, trying to make sure Kaz does not get put too far behind. So both supports are actually not in their lane when the minions spawn.
But Gorilla's run teleports. We can get back down if he needs to. Sword Art, of course, has a combat summoner heal for him onto this one, as Gorilla not going to land the Q, and they're still fighting for the Sword Art, waiting in the wings to hopefully be a surprise, as that rebuff is going to leash and reset here. And so Maple and Muujin going to hope to steal away the Raptors, and well, Maple takes one of them. Sword Art takes another, but they're still denying farm from their opposing jungler.
Gotta say though, if it ends up being a low econ game, you like the side of Kingzone as BDD's fighting already.
The drop down pretty low with some damage coming across. Conqueror available, and now turns back off as he last hits a few of these minions here.
But look how this tournament has shown us so many awesome level 1s. We are seeing supports start with their junglers, one support to defend and the other one to attack. Meanwhile, both AD carries are just sitting 1 versus 1 against each other in the bot lane.
But for this playstyle, that suits Flash Wolves because they can shoot a hawk shot and get more information on camps. Gorilla giving a leash for the Zac here. It's going to reset the camp, you'd have to think.
Just Sword Art alone at the moment, but yeah, oh, it's almost going to reset.
Oh, it's gonna?
It is, I think.
Just walk away from it, just walk away.
Or take it aggressive because they want Muujin to come over. He's got Smite in a couple seconds. There's the reset. Gorilla has to flash away, gets knocked back, and look at this, still level 2 for Kaz, but with Smite up, Muujin get this.
And Mabel managed to get a few levels in his mid lane, so that's why he can join now. Oh, Prey's in here to try to finish, but all of Kingzone just want to get this blue buff.
Headed out Smite level 2 for both these players. A nice wind wall in. That's going to be grabbed up courtesy of Cuz. So that is a big buff to be taken.
Wind wall, very, very intelligent there. Not often you would talk about that 3 minutes into the game. It meant that only Smite could pick up the buff. Nothing else would incidentally take it away. A teleporter's invested in. We almost had a 5v5 fight
And
around a blue buff at 3 minutes.
We almost did. Instead, we just got a bunch of jungle camps dying. BDD is going all in, just trading a little bit. Let's keep track of how many camps Mugen has taken. He got the Raptor camp and the red buff on top side. Then on bottom side, he secured the Grump and the Rift Scuttler. Cuz got his own blue buff and his own Raptor. So that's why he's only level 2. We'll get level 3 on the next camp. But it's going to take some time for him. Obviously, while Mugen has his entire jungle still alive that he can take.
And you gotta just expect Mugen to know the timer on when the Raptors respawn. That'll be the first one back up for him to steal. And you expect his recall to line up for that one, and he'll be there with potentially level 4 versus 3 advantage to make sure he can keep Cuz out of the game.
And honestly, the tracking of Cuz is going to be extended throughout the whole game. The Hawk shot we already mentioned can be loaded into the top side. There was an assist ping there to basically say, let's confirm he's on the top side. He certainly was. As the game goes on, even though it's a largely AD-only comp on the side of Kingzone, everyone's squishy, and the Yasuo can take over this game. So the lack of a diverse damage portfolio probably not going to be punished by the side of Flash, which they're very squishy.
Yeah, I feel like there's enough magic damage at least coming from Prey specifically, but also Cuz does add a little bit of other.
Sure.
But yeah, you are correct. Obviously, if there was a bunch of tanks on the other side, it would be fairly easy to itemize against this. Betty and Sword Art trying to push in, and this is what we mentioned with the Ashe pick specifically, but also Sword Art getting to counter pick support again, one of the big things the first few days.
And this time around, Cuz actually able to grab his own camp. Mugen didn't go for the big aggressive steal, but he gets both scuttles.
That's a small mistake, I feel like, because we have seen these Graves players like control every Raptor camp. Kasa famously did it yesterday, but this one slips away.
And Peanut did it to an even greater degree in the first game, but we saw both the early Graves domination that led to a win and the early Graves domination from Kasa that led to a win in that one, but the loss came on the side of Peanut. Is really about the mid-game execution. Cuz knows what he needs to do, dive in and start fights. The role of a Graves as the game evolves can sometimes be up in the air because he's not a true frontliner. He doesn't always do enough damage to burst through a Sion or a Zac, and now the Zac's invading himself.
Oh, well, Cuz not going to go for the steal, but actually spotting by Mugen means they can surround onto him. He's going to slingshot right back out of the lane as they loop around and goes, okay, they know what's going on here. It does allow Mugen, I believe, to grab the red buff. He's able to walk away with that one, and the Krugs aren't stolen, but now he's going to look for Cuz on the way back in.
If it ends up a low econ jungle game, you're going to like the tank jungler as Cuz finds a bit of damage, no fun there.
Both has the Q, has the reload here, and Cuz going to have a hard time fighting. We're going to think the Gromp is back up, but low health bars. They've got to track the rest of the team. Talia's pushed in mid, so BDD can't join.
And one of the most awesome things to look at is a professional team punishing a very slow early jungler. Just how many members are actually involved, how much communication you need, and timing of camps. Mabel is sitting on bot side, but Prey and Gorilla are under the turret, and it's not very fun to tower dive with Tom Kench bottom lane. They will get the camp, and Mugen gets another Rift Scuttler.
So tracking the jungle, 3 camps in the jungle stolen, and no scuttles given over the neutral ones to the Kingzone jungle. It's only been the side of his map that Cuz has been able to grab. Mugen, level 5-4 here.
Cuz being battle warded. That's the title that was given to Peanut for this sort of play, where you know where the enemy jungler is. The fact that he's killing the only camp that he feels safe enough, which is this Krugs. Mugen's going to jump over and contest them.
Well, this one, though, Mugen can have Smite up much later than Cuz does here, so if there's a fight for the red buff, that's going to be an advantage to Summoners for about a 10-second window here. The red's going to come back up in a few seconds. We'll see if that battle happens as top is shoved around.
Yeah, want to push in the top lane, and then suddenly Hanabi can move down on the Camille as well in case a fight breaks out. Gotta remember, Gorilla's TP is almost ready. Wouldn't be surprised to see him randomly just TP up to that top side and be involved. But it's not there just yet. A few more seconds. Cuz is around that blue buff. Mugen is level 6. That is huge for him.
They spot each other. So now this is Cuz with a bit of an information disadvantage. The Sion is coming down. Talia roaming up first, though. So Maple's here for this one. Hookshot. They're going to look for Khan. There's a bit of damage. He's got the ultimate as well. The ultimatum is called. And Khan down to 400 HP. Going to be jumped in with the Weaver's Wall. Does have a way to go. Unstoppable. And just survives the collateral damage.
It was very risky for him to walk up. Wanted to find information. Gets out of it, but only just. His summoner's down, but BDD finally has got some wave control. Can actually walk up.
They still get the red buff as well on the side of Flash Wolves, and we're just seeing this control. Notice how the goal is always to push the lanes first so that your solo laners are able to walk into this jungle and team up with the jungler itself without having to lose suddenly an entire wave of minions and fall behind themselves. So very good play so far, Mujin, on this Graves here. It was just locked in even before we saw the jungler. He knew, because he's going to play a tank, I'm fine with this.
Well, because they first picked the Camille as well, which is the champion that we did see Cuz play that straddles the line a bit more of a ganking jungler who can duel. There wasn't really that much left open in the effective Cuz champion pool, which of course is implied. He hasn't played many professional games. You know, he was always around the tank jungler side of the coin. Wasn't much he could go to. He defaults to the Zac, and then everything has flown on to Kingzone, doubling down on strong team fights, potentially quite early with the Rageblade Cogmore, and Flash was playing this tracker style.
Looking to track that some more, as Zac has yet to get any ganks off. We've always talked about, I believe it might have gone around the side.
Didn't see him, but they know there's no camps up, so the chances of him lane ganking here are actually very, very high. They already had a ward prepped for this, so low percentage gank chance.
Now that we're looking at that bot lane, one thing with the Ashe pick is the most value you're going to get, it feels like, is in this early laning phase, because the arrow specifically against Kingzone's comp is going to be very hard for Beta to use. You know, there's ways for BDD with Wind Wall, there's going to be Gorilla getting cleansed, and if someone gets hit and Gorilla is nearby, he just devours that target as well. So it's going to be hard for Betty to create a lot of picks, it feels like, with this Ashe. But obviously the damage, if she gets to stand still in a fight later on, I mean, Freak, you can definitely talk about, you know, Ashe fully stacked up. It's actually pretty decent. People think she's more of a utility, but she can actually deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, the downside on her damage is you have to attack 4 times before you get to turn on your steroid, and she's no escape, which means your positioning requirements are so high, you're often shut out of the fight. Either way, though, a good fight is always great for Ashe. Quick Mountain Drake pickup here. Flash Wolves continuing their bot pressure and jungle smashing and getting the first objective of the game.
And you do feel like Betty was probably caught between Ashe and the Varus that we already discussed, but the Varus was banned away. If it was picked here, would have played a bit more to lane. At least with the Ashe, they basically made Mujin's job as easy as possible, as the safest invade you could ever ask for when the Hawk Shot is thrown in. Haven't talked much about BDD, but he's looking for a trade.
Gonna have a fight here. Slingshot's coming over. Not gonna find the knockups just yet. Windwall gets rid of some of what Mujin wants to do and pulls him back in. Ashe Arrow's gonna land though, and it stops him in his tracks, push them right back in, and the health bar's so low, this guy's gonna run away. Mujin all the heals are there, but they split blobs up, and the TP is up there if they need Khan to save him. Down very low, not gonna burn the spell. First blood goes through to Mujin.
And the Ashe Arrow was so critical. A 3-second stun. Stop the Yasuo doing any more damage. Collapse from both sides. Not faster for Gorilla, even with the Abyssal Voyage. And Flash Wolves, they're going to keep pushing.
Oh, Tornado's coming.
Sword Art's going to find an almost knock-up. The Wind Wall's there, and very fitting the type bonus is in.
In the end, they get to defend BDD and the rest of Kingzone. Actually, we see Flash Wolves still staying around. Betty is out of mana, but Mujin, he's looking at them Raptors.
And a TP in for the flank. This could be a very important fight now for Kingzone. Looking to pull the trigger onto this one. BDD has a knockup available. The ultimate not quite up, but he's going to find some damage. Mujin caught out, kicked down, and Prey gets one on the scoreboard.
They just assumed that the battle was over. It was not. Maple bot lane's not joining.
Nice job right there. Prevented the cancel on the knockup, forcing a flash of the Sword Art. Really nicely done. These wind walls have been on point for BDD.
But it's the first time we're seeing a disconnect in the playstyle there. Maple was not supporting jump in and steal away the Raptors. They make a solo play. They could not have their mid laner there. And the teleport from Khan, intelligent to actually shut down something.
Yeah, that one definitely surprised Flash Wolves, but the whole fight that just started with the 2v2 in mid lane, just when we mentioned how hard it's going to be for Beta to use, he's all in.
Stun is in. Prey's going to have to get to Gorilla. Flashes in and jump right back out. A trade of flashes, though, not the end of the world either side.
Oh, Prey might be the next target then if we get another fight here, because Mabel's ulti is ready. If he can go towards that lane and Gorilla cannot safely get them out, that's a kill. We get the 2v2 trade, all in. Nice wind wall coming from BDD, and nice setup from Cuz, but then the arrow coming from the bottom lane, smack into the behind here of Yasuo, and suddenly he can't actually kill Mabel.
So often when you have both bot laners reacting, the Tomp with the Tom Cans will react first. In this case, the global was more important. Even with a teleport on the Blobless, it's not possible. Sion was under turret. They wouldn't have been able to keep him alive, Cuz.
Anyway, it's going to be some more lane pressure. Flash Wolves have bot lane on about 5 HP right now. Maple had shoved that one in a second ago, and they're setting the troops over. We'll see if they can donate the gold to the proper sources. I hope Sword Art doesn't steal it all. BDD going to shove this one up. Maple wants to fight for this in the mid lane. Hanabi and Kuz showing up as well. They get the knockup. This could be the death knell for the mid laner. Pushed around. There's the let's bounce. The kill picked up in courtesy for Kuz. And now Gorilla brings in Prey as well. It's time to run away as Flash Wolves get out of that one. Bot lane turret did finally fall though.
And Kingzone just focusing on getting BDD ahead on this Yasuo here. Want to get him to that PD as fast as possible. Bot lane turret did go down, so Flash Wolves are leading in gold. But now we have 2 assists at least for the Yasuo.
And are we seeing a transfer in power? Because earlier, these sort of plays wouldn't have been possible because the Krugs would be dead, a ward would be on it. The Zac would have been eminently obvious when he was coming in with the less bounce. Now they didn't have any eyes on the top side of the jungle. The Zac can come in from insane engage range. It was actually a self-made knockup, but the knockups are going to be reliable for BDD to get these kills on Maple.
So I want to mention that Khan on this sign, he's actually got Righteous Glory as his first item. Like, you already have plenty of mobility and engage as a sign with just your ulti. It's not going to help him a lot in the pure 1v1 against Hanabi, but he just wants to be able to walk and join his team.
So keep in mind, he is running Glacial Augment as his keystone, so if he lands a slow from an item, giant slow fields come out, and he can provide a lot of extra crowd control for the team, so he's going to be a big slow machine.
Yeah, exactly, if he gets into the fights. That's really the entire thing. Because the Camille here is like, okay, that's perfectly fine for me. I'm not too scared of that one item. I'm just going to continue split pushing. Khan's job is to get away and get in the 5-on-5 as often as possible.
Against a tempo draft, like Flash was all about playing on the front foot and taking down turrets with their global mobility from Maple. You can understand wanting to get in there and commit harder. They're going to have to commit soon. Probably going to be mid lane turret going down here. Not a lot of backup for BDD.
Does not seem defensible. Maple and Mugen going to share the local gold. Oh, she goes all to Mugen. Maple just outside of the range for that one, so 350 onto the Graves. Still, it is more of an early game champion. You don't need to keep donating gold to Graves. He's already got the money. I think he needs to do his job. Either way, very small point.
So BDD starting to get there. No Phantom Dancer still. We know that Yasuo turns on with that one item to begin. No turrets for Kingzone because aggressive vision, well, they've been fighting for defensive vision. So getting vision in front of the river, that's still a pretty sort of task. It's going to take a long time to get there.
Yeah, and Kuz obviously couldn't do much other than actually go mid. And I will give him credit. He was under a lot of pressure, but he still found 2 fights in the mid lane that has resulted in kills for his team, and that is important as a Zac, because when you are getting pressure and losing your camps, getting in and at least be involved, smack into a wall as well.
Too much praise to Fishio, calm down.
Okay,
Pastor Curse.
Let's not praise him anymore after that one. Funny enough, the camera always needs to be on them when that happens.
It's true.
Good job, observers. Always amazing here. And now we get to spot a fight in the top lane as Betty throws very low damage arrows towards that Scion, and he doesn't seem to care about the damage whatsoever. Hurricane done, Fiddy is still partway through, but big power spike in for Prey. Rageblade is in. Kog'Maw will be scary in a 5-on-5.
Hanabi will be spotted because Kingzone, they have full control on this bottom side. Both teams are just kind of trading sides. See deep vision from Flash Wolves up towards the top lane. Just want to trade turrets right now, which is effectively the best you can hope for as Kingzone, seeing as you are already behind.
But honestly, they're kind of getting a positive trade in that they're trading on the side where there's a secondary objective in the Drake. They are going to lose a turret, but given that Kingzone had no map presence 5 minutes ago, this is a pretty preferential trade for Kingzone.
Well, they might push for 2 now. You can see how we get an early recall from Gorilla to try and go stop it. 4 members of Flash Wolves to the top side.
Oh, Khan's going to have to burn Flash, probably, unless they can burn him down in time. The knockback is there. Even the Flash won't help him. The kill comes across. They pop him into the passive. But now with some defense, they're going to get to defend the turret. Drake still goes over. Look at the health bars getting down, though. Maybe putting a lot of damage across.
And especially when they see that Zac soloed down the Drake, they know he has to recall. They can still continue. Put down very deep vision. They're contesting a door ward there.
Do they get the seismic shove almost on a Gorilla? Pops the Gray health and should survive this one. Health bar is pretty high. BDD getting a bit low. This buys a lot of time as more turrets have fallen. The mid lane push worked out for Hanabi, and Betty is alone in the top lane. So this is turret to fall in a row for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, we have to remember Kingzone. It takes them forever to kill that Drake with the Zac here, so they were actually not able to like quickly just grab 2 objectives and go back and defend. It was just Khan there at first, and Flash was made the correct call. Don't stop. Just if you see them bot side, rush for tier 2, and then they actually managed to secure the kill. Great wall, and Khan probably needs to just flash out.
He doesn't flash instantly because he hears that Tahm Kench is on the way, but like you say, the timing doesn't work out. Safety first is what they should have chosen. They don't. But let's talk about what Flash Wolves got. The global goal, that part is established. Getting 2 turrets top lane this early is not always something that can be translated into a bigger objective. Now it's going to be risky for the Camille to walk topside to get farm, but they do get a lot of space as the Baron spawns in 2 minutes to push up vision and try to start a Baron.
Now goes Cuz. It's now defensive options for Kingzone. Baron's up in 2 minutes. Ocean Drake, more like 4 or 5. So unless this bot lane tier 2 gets sieged, there's not a lot to be done for Flash Wolves right now.
That is true. They can slow down at least a little bit on their side. And so gotta remember this Camille split pushing. She's been so impactful as a champion during MSI because she's one of those split pushers that can destroy turrets with her Q, with her Sheen so effectively. So when she gets ahead and she starts just sitting in that side lane, Kingzone can't really stop her at this point, seeing as of course there is a TP, so she can always join a team in case it's BDD sitting against her. And that should just buy a lot of time for Hanabi, who, funny enough, second game in a row against Kingzone is on a carry.
Yep.
And he's once again blasting Khan in the 1v1 right here, doing so well. He's up 20% gold individually. It's like 6.5 to 5.5 thousand. This is not an easily answered Camille. And it's incredible that the stars who are crushing on Flash Wolves are the 2 rookies. Hanabi, a Yasuo one trick from solo queue comes in, is doing amazing. Okay, one time on the Yasuo, but now on the Camille crushing as well, and Mujin just smashing his matchup as well. Help from the team, sure, but playing so well against the best team from South Korea, the perennial champions, as now Khan gets chopped up and pushed away, but this is going to be a 5v4.
Val be down for a moment. They're actually going to use the ult here just to get this started. Khan has teleport. Will we see that big engage?
Oh, there's a walk down to Drake he can use if he wants to do something. Right now, Kingzone Praise also low.
Yeah, him getting chunked out's a really big deal. That's one of the primary damage threats. And you know, Mujin can just toss damage to the backline with everything else, and the Hanabi dunk can do well also.
They're pinging the ward again. Here we go. Khan is on his way. He's far away from the fight just now. Hanabi's already split.
Oh, and has to just send the ult to get away. Kuz has to leave this one. Gorilla low on health again. Just Flash Wolves keep finding the damage. Another volley across the squad as well as the next minion wave is here. A knock up there as Khan is off to the side. Glacial was used, and now look where the stun gets. So finally, Flash away. It took him so long to find that button.
Now, if they're even in gold, you can make that play, but they have to use everything. The Yasuo win wall, a lot of defensive moves, just to stay alive under the turret. So then it ended up being a flank. It just ended up buying them a little bit of time. But everyone needs to fall back. They need to recall and heal up. Flash Wolves not able to push themselves any further up, but the engage for Kingzone still eludes them at 20 minutes.
Flash Wolves consolation prize is grabbing a blue buff now. Ooh, yeah. Hanabi had to flash away. If he let Searching Strikes land, that would have been a pullback and possibly a combo in. So a blue buff steal, but that turret was defended pretty well by Kingzone. Didn't lose much more than cooldowns and didn't lose any turrets.
It's going to be fun to see Kingzone in these team fights because there is a lot of knockups for a Yasuo. If Kuz gets the correct engage in, suddenly it's a perfect setup for BDD. Sword Art on his side is going to be kind of the one person who can try and disengage everything, but there's some tools that are really hard to get rid of as a Janna. Like if Kuz goes into his ulti, if it's a Scion ulting into you, you can't just instantly get rid of him. You will most likely get hit and get knocked up, and then BDD can follow. So there's going to be a lot of things Soda needs to watch out for. This is going to be one of the very hard Janna games to play because everyone just wants to kill you.
And that's why there's no easy answer to Fisher to how far ahead does Flash Wolves need to be with this draft. 5,000 gold over Kingzone. It's a very nice spot to be in at 21 minutes, but the reliability, as you're outlining, is super high, even though Janna gives them that one full reset.
And as the wave gets pushed in, only a little bit of damage dealt out by Kingzone here, looking for what scraps they can find. They've got to fight through a 5,500 gold deficit.
Here we go.
Huge lead. Cuz gets to the back line, stunned them so he cannot combo. And as his ult right back up, but the health bar runs out, and he's into Bloblets, and there's no teleport to save him anyway. This will be a kill unanswered. As Gorilla walks up trying to save and simply kills himself for it.
Yeah, what's Gorilla doing here? He just needs to get out so there's still 4 members alive in case Flash Wolves starts the Baron, but he wanders around hoping that maybe Cuz respawns fast enough that he can eat him. But that was just too greedy, and now Flash Wolves should just start the Baron.
He held on to devour a long time, and then, like you say, was caught with his pants down. Nothing he could do to get out. Flash Wolves do start the Baron, and Kingzone have to give it up.
And you said before, Papa Smithy, how far ahead do Flash Wolves need to be before we can say, okay, they're going to win everything? Well, getting the Baron and getting the base, that's what they're looking for.
And here's the knockup. They will be able to get a kill for this one. Hanabi maybe farther ahead than he needed to. Could have backed off once the Baron was started, but at least a consolation kill for Kingzone and Baron on a 4.
Classic
split push.
Yeah, classic split pushers. Whenever you do something great for them, they always have to do something, give it something over to the enemy team. That's actually pretty big. Hanabi not with the Baron buff.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna obviously just sit in a side lane and control it. it might allow Kingzone to defend a little bit easier.
And maybe lose one less turret, one less inhibitor as a result. We'll see what happens in the Baron power play. Still 3 minutes to play with that one. Watch that fight again, and Kingzone wanted desperately to start a battle.
And Cuz desperately wants to engage. He sees Janna and also Vitaly. Doesn't see Ash, who walks up and stops the engage early. And Gorilla really continues to step up. Could have disengaged at any point, and it's the reason why we usually see Kingzone playing drafts like Flash Walls, because when you go for teamfight execution, the execution goes wrong. You lose Baron, you lose turrets, you potentially don't have enough gold to win the next teamfight. The gold leaders balloon to 8,000, and Kingzone, with the dregs of a super powerful teamfight comp, are not 100% to win the next fight.
See with Flash Rolls, we'll have plenty of time to push down this turret here, seeing as Gorilla and Freya just recalling top lane. Hanabi is in mid without the Baron buff.
I gotta say, I'm impressed with Flash Wolves, though. They're playing a zero tank composition. You can't really faithfully call Camille a tank right here. They are playing 4 ranged champions and a split pusher, and are out team fighting the best team in Korea. Yes, the gold leads in the early game matter. Now looking for the frontline knockup. They've got one looking to kidnap in as they look for Graves, but no kills across just yet. Instead of backline access coming through as Flash is looking to do a bit of damage. They push BDD away. Hanabi in the back line. He's going to find Zac. No passive. There's Sword Art. Somehow grabs the kill, and now Khan is forced to run. Does have the ulti. Not going to pop much and just gets chalked down as Betty grabs that one through the slows. Onto the base they go.
Perfect setup once again. Talia wall in, and when Kos says, okay, we need to fight, that's the only way to defend, he flies in, instant disengage from Flash Wolves, and then they can just turn around and destroy Kingzone. They're going straight for the Nexus.
Their executions have been so great. Once the Yasuo wind wall goes down, these next turrets are going down too.
A lot of damage into the base, and it's a 5 versus 3. You have to imagine Kingzone cannot really defend this easily. They will kill off the minions and force Flash Wolves to wait a little bit longer, but now a wave in the mid lane means they're going to knock down the second inhibitor turret as well, and the respawn still 10 seconds on Khan. They will play with this 5v4 for a few seconds, but their health bars are low. Be aware of what a re-engage might look like. Out they go.
The cannon might die in time. Khan's TP is available. That's why Flash will step away, not knowing exactly where he could TP to potentially start something, but it is a great game from a team that's lost 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
Who's now bouncing back. Awesome early game with level 1 strategy, Sword Art with his jungler, deny Kos. It turns into a fight like this one. They block away Kingzone know, okay, we gotta fight this one. But the engage is not onto Sword Art, so suddenly now he can shield, he can heal, and the rest of Flash Wolves can step forward and destroy Kingzone.
BDD comes in instantly exhausted, no value out of the Yasuo team fighting. And we have to say there's a lot in common with this draft from Flash Wars and how they were winning games in the first 2 days of this tournament, specifically around early leads. When they got first turret, they were very reliable from ahead. From behind, Hanabi's been caught on Cho'Gath. They've all individually had some pretty poor Baron setups as well. There was no Baron setup needed. They got some kills. They got the first turret and moved forward. And from ahead, Flash Wars look like their old self.
Yeah, it's been great to see Sword Art once again getting a counter pick in the bot lane and actually just perma-pushing with Betty on this Ashe to secure an early turret down there. Now they're pushing it once again. Kos is going.
Oh, nice knockback there, and they're going to get away from the Let's Bounce. The Flash was burned. The stun's going to come through. Mugen is going to get that first kill, and no one's going to follow up Khan. It's now a 5v4 without a jungler. Going to be a hard fight now for Kingzone to win. Of course, their base already in shambles. The mid lane very, very low. Hanabi couldn't quite find the inhibitor just yet, but the team is ready to re-engage topside with the Yasuo far away. Good attacks come through for Prey. The heal comes in, though. They might find the re-engage now as Hanabi is around the backside looking for BDD. Going to find the stun, and now Khan is going to drop. Gorilla low on health as well. The kills coming through fast and furious, and all of them going to start dropping now as BDD is alone and cannot win these duels. A 1 versus 2 at the very end of it.
Flash Wolves are going to win this game. Kingzone tried something different, but that's what happens when you pick for lane and don't pick for the roaming. BDD couldn't hit the side lanes. He wasn't really relevant this game, and Flash Wolves deserved winners.
So Flash Wolves guarantee a high seed in these semifinals. They locked that one in back in day 3. They knew they were in the top 4. It was about playing for seeding. At worst, they're on a tie break for first. At worst in that, they're second place. Of course, depending how the other matches go, they might just secure first place anyway.
And they just 2-0 Kingzone in this group stage. They showed their full control of how to play against this team. So much of it is focused on applying pressure through Mugen here, always in the jungle. Cuz grabs that Zac. He already knows he's against the Graves, but he wants it because limited stage games for him here this split. Probably only a few champions he wants to actually play. He wanted some engage. Well, that got punished in the early game.
And I just love when a plan comes together. Everything about the Flash Wolves comp was about punishing Cuz. And by the end, it was sad seeing him a few levels behind, trying to jump in, dying before he can even get out on his ultimate. That's the reality of when you've been counter-jungled as team-wide effectively as what we saw from the Flash Wolves. And that means Kingzone will finish third.
Yeah, we also saw in this draft here, Kingzone tried to target Betty down the bot lane. We had so many AD carry bands coming in. They grab an early Corkmore, and then Betty. First time we get to see his Ashe here in the group stages. Pushes in that bot lane, lands some really good arrows as well, despite all the problems with a Tom Kench and a wind wall. Great game from the bot lane of Flash Wolves. Again, highlight Sword Art and his Janna play.
Yep, and Betty even topped the damage charts on his team. Honestly, a very well-played game. Flash Wolves are going to be number 1 or 2 at the end of the group stage. We'll see what World Never Give Up can do next, but now we're going to get some thoughts from our analyst desk on that Flash Wolves win.
Thank you very much, Freak. Flash Wolves bounce back in their final game of the group stage here to secure themselves at least a tiebreaker for that top spot if RNG is to win the next one against Team Liquid. 2-0 over Kingzone now through the group stage for this LMS squad. Let's talk about the comp they picked for themselves with the Camille in the top lane, Carry against Khan on a tank of all things, and then the Ashe for Betty in the bot lane.
Frankly, I think they should stick with the Carry top laners. After an incredible Yasuo performance, now pulling out the Camille, I just think the vibe works. And, you know, a lot of people going to this tournament are like, Kingzone, probably the only team that can play a triple threat composition, and Flash Wolves just throwing down the gauntlet and say, no, we've got our own ace.
And I do really like the Talia for Maple as well. Being able to get very early lane priority, which I think enabled their jungle invades, but then also just kept them ahead in the roaming game the whole time. It didn't allow what ended up being a slower-paced team composition for Kingzone to ever really get going.
Yeah, you talk about invades with lane priority. Let's talk about the level 1 invade, you know, kind of put forward by Flash Wolves and what it did here to this Kingzone squad.
This is 2 games in a row now that Flash Wolves have actually executed a very aggressive level 1 that extends beyond that. So they get the Raptors, they get the red, and then they go all the way to blue buff. And even though they don't secure it, the damage is done because look at how much attention Kingzone has to pay to this and how it's all happening on their side of the map.
Yeah, exactly. 4 Kingzone members eventually had to come over to actually secure this. Their bottom lane had to fully come up. You know, they brought their mid laner over at one point. Like, it's a tremendous amount of effort and resources actually dumped into this. And meanwhile, Betty was just farming bottom lane, pushing bottom lane out, you know, all by himself.
And it's just the confidence now about why priority is so important, while the superior matchup is so important, is because it feels like every single game we are having some sort of level 1 invade that is dramatically turning the tides. Yes, TL were able to climb back from theirs, but this is multiple times that the first step to messing with Kingzone is tripping them up and looking for an invade.
And it was really interesting to me because it was one of those games where you want to look at the Kingzone composition. You're like, of course this is a better team fighting composition. Of course, you know, they're going to win. They're just going to stack armor against these multiple AD carries. You know, Cuz catches anyone. They're all squishy. They're going to die. But the thing is, if you do not nail that engage, if you are not pulling someone in, if you're not crushing someone with that Scion ultimate, Janna disengages, and there's so much DPS. The Graves is pumping out damage. Talia and the Ashe are pumping out damage, and the front line was just melting.
And the fact of the matter is that Flash Wolves comp never needed to go for the team fights because they have such incredible siege. Having access to a Janna, having access to a Talia to zone people off of towers, or at least threaten that if you stand underneath the tower, they can flick them away. So I just like how Flash Wolves had the ability to play out in multiple ways with their composition.
Yeah, and I love the way they bounced back after the loss to Team Liquid. And even looking beyond this game, and Kingzone, they can no longer get first seed. They might not even get second seed, depending on if they get a tiebreaker game in later results. That's crazy compared to the pre-tournament expectations.
Favorites. Pre-tournament favorites, and here they are looking shaky as ever.
Yeah, I mean, there's honestly been, you know, a lot of questions. More and more questions are kind of being raised here. Khan, I think, has had a bad tournament overall. You know, we talked pre-game about how BDD was looking so good with Cuz. Here he is picking what is supposed to be, you know, a counter matchup into the Talia. That's supposed to be a lane that you pick to smash, and then you take over the game with the Zac to enable you and knock people up. Scion is going to knock people up. Great. It's going to be, of course, it's going to go in their favor.
Right.
But BDD was completely absent from the game. He wasn't able to find any effectiveness because it was Flash Wolves peeling them apart. And it feels like that is what you expect Kingzone to be doing, to be pulling teams apart, to be avoiding the engages. And, it was kind of reminiscent, honestly, of Kingzone, playing against TL, I believe, in their last game, where they were the ones kind of like pulling them across the map, never actually allowing them to get those team fights.
Right, the theory was there for Kingzone, but the execution was on the side of Flash Wolves here in this game. We'll get some insight, though, on the Flash Wolves win as Shox is ready with their mid laner.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Maple, the superstar performer for the Flash Wolves after a 2-0 now over Kingzone in the end. Maple, you guys did lose 3 games leading up to this. What was different coming into today for you guys that you were able to beat Kingzone?
他说：“你们现在对 Kingzone 目前是2-0嘛？那你们在打 Kingzone 之前是连输3场，那可是，在打 Kingzone 这一场之前，你们有做什么不同的准备吗？”
主要是把心情调试回来了吧。就是前3场虽然我们都输了，不过就很多选角啊，还有前面的那个扣啊，都可以再改进的，所以我们就把这场因为都已经是最后一场，所以就尽全力来打。
So it's about like adjusting our mood and attitude. And I think like our previous 3 games, we had some issues with our ban picks and also early shot calling, and we were able to change that around and take down the game.
However, when you look at the entire group stage, the Flash Wolves amazed everyone. You had fantastic performances, and you now lock or 1, place 1 or 2 coming out of the group stage, rather, which is a fantastic performance. What does it mean to you to do so well in the first international tournament with this new Flash Wolves lineup?
他说就是你们现在表现是出人意外的，然后因为你们至少就是不管就是应该是拿到第1或第2小组的名次，然后进入4强赛。然后他说就是对你个人来讲，对带领一个全新的闪电狼，然后在 MSI 表现这么好，是有什么感想吗？
有什么感想吗？就换了2个新人嘛，所以原本来这边打的时候其实还蛮担心，就是怕国际赛的成绩就是比以往来更差。但其实我们换了2个新人都蛮有竞争力，然后就是都打得蛮好的，就是对。
So I was kind of worried about our rookies coming in. It's their big first international event, but so far they've been performing really well, and we were able to do pretty good.
You have, and you have also been playing like an absolute monster. Would you consider yourself a MVP candidate for the group stage?
他说你个人表现也是非常的突出，那你觉得你会是就是一个大家会认为是 MVP 在小组赛的 MVP 吗？
应该还好吧，因为其实出色的表现就是还有很多其他人。
I think I did all right. There's also a lot of other really good players.
All right, I think you did pretty well. Final question, you now made it to the semifinals at least. Which team would you like to avoid in that best of 5?
所以你即将打4强赛打 BO5， 那你比较不想遇到哪一队？
其实3队都很强吧，所以其实也没有特别不想要遇到哪一队，就是每一队都很难打。
They're all really strong teams. All 3 teams are strong, so there's not really a team we want to avoid. We're just ready.
Okay, you guys are ready. You look ready. Thank you very much, Maple. Congratulations. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more action and that all-important clash for Team Liquid right after this.